Okay, welcome to section 2.9 here. We are going to solve absolute value equations. So all that means is you're going to have these fence posts for absolute value, excuse me, with x in them, and you're going to solve them. All right, and so we're going to learn how to do that. And one of the weird parts is you used to have equations that have just one answer, but when you have these fence posts in the equation, you're typically going to get two answers. So I think this one, if I'm doing it in my head correct, has answers of both 8 and -12, and we'll talk more about like why those are the answer here in a second. But please know they're going to have two answers, which is a little weird. Okay, so before we get too far into this, I wanted to go back and do the basics of absolute value. So here's a number line, and the idea of an absolute value is it is the distance from 0 on a number line. Okay, so maybe I'll put that on here somewhere. It's the distance from 0 on a number line. That's what the fence posts mean, right? So like this one, this 6, if we look at a number line, here's 6, and we're 6 away from 0, so this is 6. Okay, and then for -3, that's just 3 away from 0, so it's like that. Okay, so this means, distance from 0. So when you have x inside of here, the reason you get two answers is this question is sort of saying what numbers for x will have a distance from 0 equal to 4. Okay, so visually there's two numbers. We're 4 away from 0 here, but so is -4. Okay, so x in this case could be, if we're solving this, x can be both 4 or -4. And again, if you put them in here, the absolute value of 4 is 4, and the absolute value of -4 is also 4. Okay, so that's where you get two answers. And it's going to look a little bit different because this is not just going to be x, it's going to be an expression. But please know that's why you get two answers. Is the distance from 0 is there's two different numbers. Okay, so here would be an example. Okay, and so kind of the idea is this fence post again means distance from 0, and we want that to be 5. Okay, so visually we want to be 5 away from 0. Okay, so that would be both -5 and 5. But the trick is this time we want that expression. We want x plus 3, right, to be either equal to 5 or -5. All right, in order for to make this work right. Okay, because we want whatever is here. I sometimes cover it up and say, hey, what numbers could be right here? And those two numbers are either 5 or -5. Okay, so kind of the trick is the quick and dirty way to do it is just to take that expression and say we want that expression to either be 5 or -5. Okay, and then we solve these individually. So like -3 here to get 2. That's one of our answers. And a lot of times kids think the other answer will be -2. But if we actually do the math of this, if we do -5 take away 3, we get -8. Okay, so those are our two answers. Okay, and I'm not going to do this on all the questions, but just to help us understand, if we check, right, if we check our work, like if we take an answer of 2 plus 3, that absolute value certainly should be 5, right? Because we get the absolute value of 5 is 5. Okay, and if we take our -8 answer, -8 plus 3, the absolute value of that should be 5. I'm just plugging them in for x here. The absolute value of -5, and that certainly does equal 5. So we can verify that these are the two answers. Okay, but the quick and dirty way is just take whatever is here and set it equal to plus or minus whatever's over there. Okay, so let's look at another example. Okay, so, and if you feel comfortable, try this. Before watching my solution here, see if you can do it on your own. All right, so we want to be 6 away from 0. So that's either 6 or -6, right? And so then this expression again can either be 6 or -6. So we take 2x minus 4 and say it could be -6 equal to -6, or we could say it could be equal to +6. So we keep this part exactly the same and then just do plus or minus 6. Okay, now it's just two equations to solve like you're used to. Add 4. So you get 2x equals -2 and then divide by 2. That's one answer. Go over to the other one, add 4, divide by 2. Okay, and those are our two answers. And again, we could check them. We could put them here and check. But basically, I'm going to trust that we're okay here. So it's -1 and 5 are our two answers. Okay, so next up is a twist. So this one starts a little different. Like on this last one, I basically took this and set it equal to plus or minus 6, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm not going to take this whole thing and set it equal to positive or negative 5 because there's something we got to do before our split step. Okay, so the trick here is you got to minus the 1 first, right, and get the fence post alone. Okay, and once we get it alone, now again in my head, I'm kind of like covering this expression up and saying I need a 4 or a negative 4 inside of there. All right, which means I'm going to go back to what was actually written there. That means this expression, this 2x, can either equal positive 4 or it can equal negative 4. Okay, and then if you divide by 2, you get answers of 2 and negative 2. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So the key here is we had to isolate this first before we split it. Okay, one more like that for you to try. This one's pretty tricky. Okay, so the trick here is we've got to do a few steps. So our first step is to get this part alone, this absolute value. So it's sort of like having 3x minus 2 equals 7. Is we got to get this part alone first. So we're just going to add the 2. And they have 3x plus 4 and fence post equals 9. And then it's tempting to want to distribute this 3, but instead of that, we're going to divide the 3. And then we're going to get the fence post absolute value of x plus 4 equals 3. Okay, and now we do our split step. Now, conceptually, this right here can either be 3 or negative 3. So I take x plus 4 equals 3. What am I doing? I wrote the wrong thing. So x plus 4 equals 3, or x plus 4 equals negative 3. And then minus the 4 from both sides. Minus 4 here. You get x equals negative 7. Okay, and those are our two solutions. Okay, and that's it. Thank you for watching. This is solving absolute value inequality. No, this should say equation. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Solve the absolute value equations. And you get 2 answers generally when you're done. All right, thank you.